just a field. Such is the inexorable march of progress. Nowadays, of course, it's still a field, but if you'd been standing on this spot 25 years ago, you'd have been in for some unexpected surprises. Because this is the site of the legendary Woodstock Festival, where love and sex merged imperceptibly, and the grass wasn't just growing under your feet. Yes, today we celebrate the 60s, and we premiere the world exclusive of KYTV's Woodstock 3, a brand new film made up of all the old footage not used in Woodstock 1 and 2. So come with us now as we take a trip down memory lane and revisit those sexciting 60s.
Yes, the 60s. Soundtracked by the Stones, satirically shafted by Sherin, superbly shot by Schlesinger, chiseled and styled by Sassoon. Yes, they were the 60s.
The 1960s was a time when popular heroes rubbed shoulders with the pillars of the establishment for the first time. From the big bust... Oh, shit. From the big busted beauties to great leaders of the nation, to the dirty old men, to the most unfortunate figure of the decade. But the 60s were a time of triumph, as well as despair. And although some of the faces are obviously gone, others are still as instantly recognisable as they ever were. But above all, the 60s is remembered for its rampant sex and topical satirists. London became the city to be seen in, just as Liverpool became the city. What's going on?
Well, the buzzword of the 60s was mini. Women wore them, men drove them.
And women drove them as well, Mike.
Yes, that's right, Anna, although not quite as well as men. And just like a woman, they were good to look at and easy to handle.
Oh, really? Mike, well, mine was just like a man. It used to shoot off and stop immediately.
Oh, it's that time again.
What time?
Nothing. Anyway, we've many people with us today who are very associated with the 60s. I'm sure you recognise this lady here, Kathy Brown, or Truddles, as she was better known. Now, how do you remember those days, Truddles?
Well, the thing that I remember was it was just so hectic, you know. I was permanently rushing round the whole time, recording studio to art gallery, television studio to photographer's studio.
Yes. What did you actually do?
I was, well, I didn't do anything. I was just famous.
Excuse me, sir, what did you do in the 60s?
About a couple of grams a day, I think.
Excuse me, madam, do you remember the 1960s?
Oh, yes. I never buy anything else. I'd certainly recommend it.
No.
Creamy and smooth. Tastes just like butter.
No, what we want to know is...
I can't tell the difference, and neither can my husband.
No, we're not talking about margarine. We're asking about the 1960s.
Oh, the 1960s?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, the 1960s.
Yes, do you remember them?
Oh, yes. I never thought I'd find anything to shift those grease stains.
Daniele's Neapolitan sauce. It brings out the Italian in you, eh?
Worried that you might not have comprehensive insurance? Then phone Free Phone Motor Insurance now for immediate cover on 0800 453 214.
Hello, Free Phone Motor Insurance.
Free Phone Motor Insurance 0800 453 214.
You're watching YKVT.
Well, many people, I'm sure, remember some of the thrilling football moments of the 60s, such as Manchester City's victory in the 69 final. So, will you please welcome two of the stars of that fabulous cup-winning team, Mike Doyle and Dave Stevens. Now, Dave, you had a great game that day, and I'm sure a lot of people still remember that spectacular scissor kick of yours.
That's right.
So, let's see it again.
Oh, great.
No, I meant, let's see you do it again now.
Hey up!
If you're going to San Francisco, be sure to send your video for our sexciting sixties show.
Now, of course, the soundtrack to the 60s was the music. Clubs sprang up everywhere, perhaps most famously the Cavern in Liverpool, isn't it right, Trevor?
Oh, wow, yeah. The Cavern, I remember the Cavern. Ooh, hey. How can I describe it?
How about using words?
Well, the thing I remember most about the Cavern was that it did smell a bit.
Did it?
Yeah. You have to sometimes hold your nose when you went in because it stank so much.
I see.
Yeah, it's like a load of goats been down there.
Really?
Like a load of goats with a broken wind all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like
yes.
a pig's toilet, it was.
I see.
It really, really smelled, you know. It was smelly, you know.
Yes, I know smelly.
Yeah. I don't know how I can describe the smell. It was sort
Yeah,
of...
well, I think you've actually described it quite enough, actually. What about the music?
Did you have music there? No, I don't remember that. No, but I remember the smell. It was sort of...
Yeah, thank you. Trouble. Who said taking drugs in the 60s didn't damage the brain cells? Well, let's take a look at the 60s now with the help of some of that music, the swinging 60s years.
Like crusty dusted, that's it.
Yes, in the 60s, the times, they were most definitely a-changing. One person who did have a heart was the first ever heart transplant recipient in August 1967. In 1966, the sun came out. However, the six-day war between Israel and Egypt marred an otherwise lovely summer. But despite that, for many, the abiding memory of the 60s was the death of President Kennedy.
Jack in the box.
Well, there can have been few more gladdening sights than that of George Best dribbling and swerving from side to side, and many will remember his footballing skills as well. Well, George is on the phone now, so we'll have to wait until after he's finished to talk to him. But in the meantime, let's welcome another legend of the 60s footballing scene, Mr. Kenneth Wolstenholme. Now, many people, Kenneth, I'm sure, remember you best for your famous commentary on England's victory in the 1966 World Cup final.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Perhaps you could let us hear again those unforgettable words.
And I said, and now Bobby Charlton preparing to take a throw-in for England midway inside the German half.
Yes. I was thinking of a rather better-known bit of the commentary.
Yes, there's the whistle for half-time, and the players now leave the pitch.
Yes, that was, of course, very memorable. But I was thinking of what you said at the end of the match.
Oh, at the end of the match.
The end of the
that's
match.
Said then, and that's all from Wembley. So from Wembley Stadium now back to the studio.
The bit I had in mind was some people are on the pitch. They think it's all
that
over.
bit. Oh, I remember that bit. Some people are on the pitch. They think it's all over. It is now. Take that home in your great sausage eater.
I don't remember that last bit quite so well.
You don't?
No.
Don't tell me they faded me out.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Kenneth Wolstenholme.
From 1965 with Something Groovy's Going On. And now with the same song, will you please welcome the fabulous Fourpenny Ones, 90s style.
Which year do you remember most clearly from the 1960s?
Oh, 1963. It's quite extraordinary. Like in just 1 year, Kennedy was shot and a man landed on the moon. Leicester City won the league. Oh, it's extraordinary.
Yes, it's quite extraordinary. And quite untrue as well. So, can I ask you, who do you remember from the 60s?
Doreen.
Sorry?
Doreen Baker. She used to babysit for us in the late 60s. And Mrs. Collindale from down the road.
No famous people.
That's right, no famous people, just Doreen. Mrs. Collindale. Stan Gilbert. Yeah, he used to come round to borrow our mower on a Sunday.
Thanks very much.
Oh, it was nothing. We never use it at the weekends anyway.
Well, many of the song lyrics of that period have now literally passed into common parlance. All you need is love, I can't get no satisfaction, his name was Ernie. But what do they mean? Well, with us today is expert lyricologist and emeritus professor of rock at Geldof's College, Oxford, Professor Van Nuys, who kindly agreed to analyse for us the lyrics of Little Richard's Tutti Frutti, hence the musical introduction.
Well, the title of the song, Tutti Frutti, refers to a make of an Italian ice cream, a multi-flavoured variety which we, I think, in Britain know as Neapolitan. Yes, this is simply a colloquial way of saying on the way, really. En route. Probably a corruption of the French en route.
So, if we could translate the song as we go then.
Yes. The refrain is Neapolitan ice cream on the way. 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 Ah.
Well, perhaps you'd like to tell us what that last little bit means.
Yes, of course. A wop wop a loo wop a lop bam boom. Well, a wop wop is an Italian dance, of course. A wop wop, reinforcing the Italianate theme of the entire song. A wop wop, a loo bop. I think they're clearly dancing in the toilet.
A lop bam boom?
I'm sorry?
A lop bam boom?
Pull yourself together, woman. You're talking gibberish.
No, the final line of the song, a lop bam boom.
Oh, I see, a lot bam boom. Well, this is, complete nonsense.
Is it?
Well, of course it is a lot bam boom. Doesn't mean a thing, does it?
Buy a satellite dish, and you could receive free flights to America, a year's supply of Versace clothing, and you could live forever. Yes, everlasting life could be yours, subject to availability and the usual contractual stipulations. You buy a KYTV dish.
Free subscription to KYTV if you ring this number now.
08018110099.
KYTV. It's only a short phone call away.
Well, welcome once again, the fabulous fourpenny ones. Now, you're only performing part-time these days, of course. So,
Yeah.
Reg, what are you doing?
I'm a transparent wall executive.
You're a window cleaner.
Yeah.
And, Rock, you're working in a bakery now.
Butcher.
A butcher's, I'm sorry. So, how does working in a butcher's compare to the old job?
Well, like, you know, one was being very famous and having everything you wanted. And the other one is serving little old ladies at bags of mints.
Well, Mike, I believe that you're still performing.
Yes, I had to face that, but it's brought me a completely new audience, you know.
Particularly in Japan, I'd imagine. And finally, John. Now, I see from our research that you died in 1977.
No.
No? Oh, well, sorry about that. I mean, not sorry that you didn't die. But, so what have you been doing?
Well, I've been doing a bit of acting.
Television, film?
Panto, mainly. I was Widow Twanky to Alvin Stardust Buttons.
Well, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Oh, no, you know.
Hey,
Well, let's have a look at another piece of old footage and remind ourselves of how you were.
Don't you think you're insulting people with this long hair and outrageous dress?
No, I think...
And this modern habit of interrupting your elders? What about that?
Well, I think...
You're doing it again. Have you no manners? Eh, well, what do you say?
Just that we...
There you go, doing it again. And what's more, you drink coffee with a frothy top and your young lady friends wear skirts so short you can see, if you'll forgive me, right up their beaver. I've come to Memphis, where Elvis grew up, to talk to some of the people who knew him, and I'm here with Greg Amos. Greg, did you know Elvis very well? No, sir. Great, let's order, shall we?
Thank you. I'll have
After lunch, I flew straight on to L.A. to talk to Tom Henderson. Tom, would you say that Elvis Presley was the first real rock star?
Elvis Presley was the first real rock star.
That's great. Let's order it, Tom. Yes, Elvis Presley has left his mark the world over. From Sri Lanka to Australia to here in Rio de Janeiro. Next week, join me in Bali when we look at the life and times of Buddy Holly and consider where he might have gone had he lived.
Early tapes of the Beatles sessions at Abbey Road recording studios have recently been unearthed, revealing as yet undisclosed insights into the band.
With these 16-track recordings, you can isolate the individual voices like so. Paul starts off, you see, followed by John, and George, and Ringo.
So were the 60s really that sex-citing? Well, back in the 60s, this little white pill revolutionized women's lives. Truddles, can I ask you, did this little pill liberate women's lifestyles with regard to potential first-time intimacy?
No, it just meant there was more shagging going on, you know.
Right. Lady Amelia Rosenberg Bottomley, Baroness of East Drayton and former lady-in-waiting to the Queen.
Yes, hello.
Was there much shagging going on in the 60s?
I'm sorry?
Well, let me put it another way. The pill must have liberated women's lifestyles with regard to potential first-time intimacy.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes.
And there was a lot of shagging going on there.
So did you disapprove of the pill, Lady Amelia?
Well, I could never really understand what it was about. I mean, why couldn't they just use a carefully inserted handkerchief, like we used to in my day?
Well, I'm delighted to have with me here in Woodstock one of the many faces who left their footprints on the 60s, a seminal hippie, Emo Hofberg. Hello, Emo. Of course, one of the first advocates of pot smoking, free living, and all those other things that we associate with the 60s. Emo, welcome. And also, Emo was a great friend of Timothy Leary, and as such...
Oh, hi.
Hello, Emo. I was just saying that you're a great friend of Timothy Leary's, so I wonder how you remember the great man. He must have been quite... I suppose, is there something wrong with your hearing?
Well, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you very much.
Good. Well, I'm sorry that Emo doesn't appear to be quite all with us at the moment.
Check.
But in the meantime, while we help him get his head together, let's go back to the studio.
Oh, hi.
Is there someone else I can interview?
Now, many of your contemporaries have had their careers revived by their songs being used in commercials, and I believe Something Groovy Going On has been chosen for a prestigious new ad.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
For Levi's?
No, Odoritas.
I see. Well, now, there was a moment in the 60s when you were almost as big as the Beatles, weren't you? I mean, in fact, I believe you were actually handled by Brian Epstein.
Yes, that's right. Although he was never my manager.
No. An example there of the irresistible 60s form of humour that we greatly enjoyed. And it was impossible to repress in the 60s, as this vintage clip of you boys shows. Have a look at this.
So, boys, how did you find America?
By plane.
Yeah, we went by plane.
By plane, yeah, that's what we found America.
That's right, we went by biplane.
Oh, yeah, by
Well, it's certainly great to see you again.
Why, have you got new glasses?
Is that why it's great to see us, yeah?
Aye.
But seriously,
Aye, he knows you're here.
Where's the glasses then?
seriously,
Here.
with your very distinctive Liverpool wit, did the Americans find it at all difficult to understand you?
Pardon?
But did they find it difficult to understand you?
Pardon?
Do you think share the same sense of humour?
Pardon?
Did you see much of America?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with my eyes.
Yeah, we don't need glasses.
I'm trying. Oh, shut up!
Well, television back in the 60s was full of charmingly old-fashioned little interludes, like this piece called London to Brighton in 4 minutes. Nowadays, of course, a film of that journey would be very different. Well, the music industry was thriving in swinging England with groups like the fabulous Forkney Ones, the face of the 60s, the facelift of the 90s. But in those sexciting 60s, Britain was also famous for its thriving film industry.
Just remember, Paulsy, you don't look at the mantelpiece while you're poking the fire. Come here!
Then there was Alfie, starring Michael Caine.
I quite like this one. She don't argue too much, and she speaks when she's spoken to. Keep going, girl. She plays her cards right. She could have me.
And of course, Cliff in It's Fab Dad.
What's happening to me? I've just seen how great life can be. Here's a show starring you and me. Hey, what do you say? Things are going our way. It seems like it's a wonderful day. Hey, everyone, get out in the sun. I feel so incredibly gay. It's a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful, beautiful day. Hey, today.
So how will the golden era of the 60s be remembered, and why was it so special? Reg?
Well, there was such an atmosphere in those days, you know, a sort of naivety, you know. We used to hit people in the face with bottles of beer and beat up women, you know, happy days. But there was no malice in it, you know.
Yes. So how does it compare to today, do you think, John?
Well, the thing about nowadays is there's no personalities around anymore. That's what I miss. Everyone's so boring compared to in our day.
Yes, that must be hard for you to adjust to. Do you have any abiding memories of the 60s? Anyone who stands out in your mind that you haven't mentioned yet?
Can't.
No. Okay, well, it's getting late, I understand. You've had enough. Professor Banyard, how will the 60s be remembered, do you think?
Well, the 60s may not have achieved much per se, but they paved the way for what followed in the 70s. I like to think of the 60s as a sort of undercoat, and the 70s the gloss.
Do you?
Yes, I do. Yes, the 60s were the bulb, if you like, from which the 70s flower bloomed.
Well, a couple of useful analogies there.
Yes, my wife prefers to see things in terms of her recipe for deep-fried mushrooms. Personally, I prefer to see things in terms of sexual foreplay.
I'm sorry?
Yes. If the 60s loosened the nether garments, it was the 70s that rammed...
Yes, I think that's...
Pursued by people who hate him. They took their guns and shot. I found the bird of peace on the ground and ate him. Flying through the sky. Over the hills here, then he flew. Cradle to the butterfly of love as he flew straight down my road. Oh, bird of peace, you tasted real good. I had you with mint sauce. Oh,
Mr. Frank Sinatra! Oh, butterfly of love. Come and fly with me. Oh, butterfly of love. Oh, bird of peace. You're just like a couple of stars.